Okay, I'm finally getting around to doing this water pump, and I know I said I wasn't going to make a video, but I got the time to do it. So there's the old orange one. Just gonna drain everything out, unbolt everything, take the fan off, unbolt all the hoses, unclamp all the hoses. There's some brackets on here that go into the water pump from the power steering and maybe elsewhere. And there's a little fitting I have to unscrew from the old water pump there by that heater hose going up there and transfer it to the new water pump. There's that little heater bypass hose, but it's a pretty easy job. You gotta move your power steering pump out of the way in order to get that off. So I'm gonna try to keep this as a brief video instead of a long drawn out one that I usually put people to sleep on. So here's the tools. Basic ratchet set is what you need. Got your coolant and one of these to drain it and funnel. Then when you walk over here, you will see in the car is the water pump. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, for these 4 fan bolts in here, I use a 1/2 inch closed end wrench. Ratchet is a little too tight to get in here. Unless you have a fancy ratcheting closed end wrench, then you can use that. But this works well. The small 1/4 inch drive ratchet worked out well with a 13mm socket and the 1/2 inch closed end. I used both of them. All the bolts are loose now on the fan. Move this top radiator support here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bolts. Just to give me more room to work with. It's easy enough to take off. So let's do that. Okay, all the bolts are out. Now this top cover can come off. And there's the top of your radiator. See? Just easier to work. More room. This can move a little bit. Radiator. Good stuff. There's the bolts that I loosened down there for the fan. Now you got to be careful. You can't get those all the way off with the radiator in the way. So you have to pull them off with the spacer. I'm going to loosen the alternator. It's 2 bolts, one on the top, one on the bottom, and the power steering pump, because the pump bracket screws right into the water pump. Power steering pump bracket screws into that, so you just have to have a little play. There's another bolt down there that screws in, so just give yourself a little play. So I'm going to do that now. Now is a good time if you want to change your alternator. Now is a good time to do it, because you're already in there. Got the stuff out of the way. It's pretty easy to do. This is a 9/16. There's one down below it that's also a 9/16. There you go. Okay, we also work on bikes here. We're doing a wheel change here because I don't think this rear tire is gonna pass inspection over here. It's got a little wear, little minor wear in the central area of the tread. And here's the new one. We have a very experienced motorcycle mechanic working on this right now. Looking good. This is not a fast bike, it's only a 900 RR. Okay, I'm just kidding. See ya. Hey everyone, you want to hear a little secret? Just keep this between you and I now, okay? See this beautiful blue? It's not the original color of this car. Look. This is the original color of this car. Not the blue. But don't tell anybody. Just in case I want to sell this car, I'm going to tell them this was the original color. Okay, of course I'm kidding. But yeah, this is the original color right there. Nice also, but I like the blue. Okay, the power steering pump is totally disconnected. The last bolt is this long one that goes right into this bracket right on the block, and I have it supported with my elaborate tie wrap system that's going into this wire clamp. That is a good amount of weight on these tie wraps here, so make sure you attach it to something strong. This clamp is pretty strong, so it's holding it pretty good, as you can see. Okay, time to disconnect a bunch of hoses now, and then we're going to get the water pump off. Okay, I took the fan off. All the belts are off, and see that thing shot. Okay. There's a few more bolts that have to come off. The funny looking one is on top for the alternator bracket, and there's a lower one down there. This hose has to come off, and I have to take off that fitting from the old water pump because that has to be moved to the new one. Good morning, everybody. Here we are. Day 2. Of course, you could do this project in one day, but I started late yesterday. So you could see the water pump's out. I scraped off the old gasket material. I know my motor's full of oil here. But there you go. Here's the two areas. Now, on the left side, the bottom bolt, you have to coat the threads with RTV sealer because that bolt goes right into a coolant passage. Actually comes out right into the coolant. Okay, so that's what this is looking like. Here's the old water pump over here. This was a Ford part. You could see the Ford in the mold. C9AE, that's 1969, even though my car's a 66. DIF is Dearborn Iron Foundry. That's where this was cast. And here's this piece of heater hose here. I think I'm going to change this to a new one because this one's pretty old. I'm going to reuse my little bypass hose because it's clean. I don't know where I put it. But here's the part you have to take out. This part I have to put back into the new, there it is in the sun. This is going to go back into the new water pump where that heater hose connects to. Okay. Now this part I'm going to reuse because I just put this in brand new like a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago. This is the little coolant bypass heater hose. So I'm going to reuse this. But obviously if yours is old, just change it. You can see I have rags stuffed in the holes to absorb the coolant because I don't like coolant on the gasket surfaces. I like dry gasket surfaces when I use RTV, so I get a good seal. So this is going to just soak up whatever coolant just sitting there in front of the motor. Then I'm going to dry the gasket surface, put the new water pump on. I'm going to apply a little bit of RTV to both sides of the gasket. Put the gasket on the pump, stick it on the pump, and then have two bolts ready to go, the two top bolts ready to go. Screw them in, and then screw in the bottom ones. See, I've been sticking a paper towel in there and trying to dry those threads. almost ready to go. I'm not going to take a lot of video now. Now it's just putting everything back together. You're going to mount the water pump, hook up your heater, your hoses, your brackets, and just refill the system. It's pretty straightforward. It's all in a prep. The prep takes time. It's an easy job, but you want to have everything nice and clean before you put the new water pump back on. Oh, incidentally, I've been sticking rags in these holes to prevent the coolant from coming out. You stick a rag in the hole to absorb the coolant that's in the motor. And I've been sticking a paper towel in this bottom hole, because that one coolant comes out of. I've been sticking a little paper towel in there to try to dry it before I put the bolt in. And when I mount the water pump, I'm going to put the top 2 bolts in first. Those are easy. And then I'll put the bottom ones in. You can see I already cleaned, as you can see, the surfaces where the water pump mounts to. I got off the old gasket material. This one stuck to the water pump and this one stuck to the motor. So this is the one I had to scrape off, so it's pretty clean now. So I'm going to mount the new water pump and then finish this up later. I got some more things to do today. Okay, here's a quick shot of the gasket sealer. I don't know why it's hard to see. But I just put a thin layer on the pump. Then I'm going to put the gasket on there and then put a thin layer on the other side of the gasket. Or you could put a thin layer on the motor instead of a thin layer on the other side of the gasket. Whichever works better. At the you could see top 2 bolts are in nicely. You put the 2 top bolts through the holes while the gasket's on the water pump, and then you just line them up. And now this is the left bottom one. I coated it with RTV sealant because the left bottom mounting point goes into the water passageway. And the right bottom one does not, so you don't have to do it on the right bottom one. But it looks great. It's the shiniest part under the hood. Okay, I got all 4 bolts on the pump. They're all tight and nice. Now I'm putting in this fitting. I just coated the threads a little bit with the gasket maker. And I have to fix my little heater hose bypass because it's kind of stuck and it's not going onto the water pump as nicely as I wanted it to, so I gotta work with that, get that right. Okay, as you can see, everything's back. I just finished putting the fan on and this cover. The fan is 4 bolts. What you want to do to put the fan on is put the pulley over the water pump. That's this part. Put this over the water pump, put your first hole at 12 o'clock on top. Okay, this way you know where to line up your, because when you put the fan assembly in, it's already going to have the bolts in and the spacer in some applications. So it's just easier when you first bolt on. I spun this, but I started with my first bolt at 12 o'clock. You line up the pulley with the hole in the water pump, and then you line up the pulley, then you line up the spacer, and you screw your top bolt in first. Once you screw your top bolt in first, the rest will be all lined up. All the belts are on. Tighten everything, especially your hose clamps. One time I changed my bottom hose on this car. I went down the highway, and the whole bottom hose blew out. Just blew right out. So make sure you tighten them. Here's my alternator. And I noticed my bypass hose seemed to be a little bit shorter. So I don't know if the snout coming out of the little piece coming out of the water pump is shorter on the replacement ones to make it easier to change that. But so I may change that, and I may also eventually change this little short section of heater hose here. It's got oil on it, that's why it's black. It was this maroon color, but the hose was in good condition. It just looks very bad from the outside. So all that's left, oh, one more thing is, make sure you disconnect your negative terminal, because when you slide this whole alternator over, there is a chance of your positive shorting against the chassis, and then it'll go boom, and that's it. So disconnect your negative. So all you have to do is fill it with coolant, let it run, top it off. You know, let it get up to temperature. Keep topping it off till it, you know, is a little about an inch lower below the cap there on the surge tank rather. So I hope this video was helpful. It took me 2 days because I started late yesterday. This is definitely not a 2-day job. You could do it in 1 day. Just start in the morning. If you start late, just continue it the next day like I did. And it's a beautiful job. Thank you for watching my video. I know I said I wasn't going to make one, but I decided to anyway. You know, check your belts. If they're bad, replace them. It's a good time to. You have everything apart. And any bad hoses, of course. So that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and keep those old classics running. And as well as your dailies. And have a great day. It's a beautiful Wednesday today. Bye, everyone. Okay, I'm topping off the coolant now. Let's start her up, check for leaks. Try that again. And top off the coolant. You want to let the car get up to temperature. You want the thermostat to open to make sure you have no leaks. You don't want to get on the road and then find out that you lost all your coolant. So what I'm going to do is let this warm up. I already put I put over like 1.5 gallons in here already. It's pretty full. So we'll see if it's going to take a little bit more or not. I know I already said thanks for watching, but I wanted you to see this part and also to hear this beautiful 390 run. Because let me tell you, you could balance a nickel on edge on this motor. It just purrs like a kitten. Okay, thanks for watching, everybody. I know I already said thanks for watching, but I'm saying it again. Thanks for watching. Just one last comment. At the beginning of the video, I showed 2 gallons of coolant, pre-mixed, pre-diluted. This vehicle takes a lot more than 2 gallons. I think I put around 2.75 gallons in here, just to let you know. So far, I think that should be it. I'm going to run it up to temperature and see if it goes down any more, takes in any more coolant, but definitely takes almost 3 gallons, a big 390 big block like this with a huge radiator.